Welcome back to the Cirque Series. The last race was held at Brighton Resort in Utah. A technical course routed the runners over 4 different peaks as they circumnavigated the resort. Grayson Murphy showed what a world-class performance looks like, taking the win by over 8 minutes. Janelle Links backed up her win at Snowbird with a second-place finish, extending her lead in the overall standings. Giselle Slotboom rounded out the top 3 in her first Cirque Series appearance of the season. Jordan's race tactic of holding back on the uphills to attack on the downhills proved unsuccessful on this course. With a short final descent, she ran out of room to regain significant positions. However, her result moved her into 9th place in the overall series standings. This week, the series takes on the last frontier. We travel up to Alaska for the 3rd round at Alyeska Resort. 50 minutes southeast of Anchorage, Alyeska Resort towers above the town of Girdwood, sitting at 36 feet above sea level. But don't let the elevation of this race fool you. This is not an easy course. In fact, it's one of the toughest courses in the series. 6.2 miles and a staggering 3,900 feet of elevation change. Add in a technical section over the infamous Center Ridge and a mud-filled descent down Max's southwest face, and it's sure to make for an interesting day.
We are in Alyeska, Alaska for the 3rd race of the Cirque Series. A continuous goal throughout this series has been a top 10 result. So going into the Alyeska race, that was kind of on the back of my mind that I would like to break into that top 10. This style of race of just straight up, straight down, kind of a technical climb and descent is my style of racing. And so going into this, I really wanted to perform well, whether that meant, that statistic of breaking into a top 10 or just feeling really strong and confident in my racing. I think that was kind of more of the goal of just feeling competent racing in a scene and in a setting that I feel really strong in. Just that straight up, straight down style of racing. There's not a whole lot of traversing and up, down, up, down, up, down hills in between. It's kind of simple, and I really appreciate that. And I think, the technicalities of the uphills and the downhills are where I strive. So having a technical downhill is where I like to play. And I think that that's kind of what I was excited for here. One of the takeaways I got from the Brighton race was that I need to line up closer to the start rather than like 5 rows back. That's something I'm not super comfortable with. It's easier when you have a couple people in front of you, and that was important for me just because you're working so much harder to get around people when you place yourself in that position. And so going into this race, I started closer to the front, which made me uncomfortable, but that's okay. I think that's, part of this whole process is embracing that it's not super comfortable, it's awkward, it's weird, and you don't always feel like you deserve to be up front, but doing it anyways. And my plan going into the race was to really attack on the fire road, which was the first section before we got to the single track.
He says the weather is identical at the top right now that it is right down here right now. So that's not always the case. So welcome that weather today.
Hey, the course is super well marked with orange flagging. If you're going and you don't see orange flagging, turn around, go back where you came from. You shouldn't get lost. If you see anybody hurt, keep going, tell the nearest course marshal or EMT. And other than that, there are maybe live explosives that are duds. If you see any of those, stay very far away from them and also notify EMTs or patrol. Let's push some peeps!
2 days before the race, I had a workout and it felt great. It felt really easy, felt really fast and strong, and I was like, oh wow, this whole sea level thing isn't so bad after all. And so I felt really, really good during that workout. And then the next day, we went and scouted the course, which is, just under 4,000 feet of climbing and descent on a pretty technical trail. And during that, I felt great and was so excited and confident leading up to the race of, okay, I feel strong, I feel, really excited for this race. Everything in my body is lining up to the timing of this race. I had a really good feeling about how I was going to perform. But again, one of those things you would think you would know by now, scouting the course the day before the race with that much climbing and descent wasn't the best idea. I went into the race on very tired legs, and I woke up that morning and I was like, no, I'm fine, I feel great, I'm fresh. But from the start, I was pretty tired. I think we started out on this fire road up the first hill, and then after you turn on the switchback, it was almost like an immediate dump of lactic acid in my legs, and everything felt like bricks. And I was like, no, this is way too early. I felt so good the last 2 days leading up to this. So excited, so much energy, and now my legs are tired. And so that was kind of a, damn, that was dumb moment, but we're just learning a lesson in every race. So, lesson learned, don't scout the course the day before the race.
After 2 miles of climbing, the trail gets even steeper as the runners approach Center Ridge.
One of the thoughts that I kept coming back to was when Chase and I scouted the course the day before the race, he told me to focus. I think it was an important reminder for me just to bring me back to being present, right? Of, hey, not only do you need to focus on picking up your feet so that you're not, getting caught on roots and rocks, but also focus on the pace that you're putting out right now. Like, don't get comfortable and settle into this race. It's too short of a race to do that. I think in some of these previous races, I've had that tendency to settle and get comfortable. But these races are so short that I shouldn't be comfortable and settled. And so that reminder to come back and focus and be present was just an important reminder for me to kind of remember what I was doing.
After traversing the head wall, the course took a nosedive and descended Max's southwest face. The trail took the most direct route off of Max's peak, which only means one thing: it was steep.
The downhill is kind of broken up into 3 parts. You have the upper section, which is more grass and like shaly rocks. The second section is the trees, and in the trees, there's a section called the sticks, where you have to hold on to the trees around you to get down because it's so steep. So you'll grab a tree and basically jump off this rooty ledge down onto the trail and keep running. Through that section, there were 5 or 6 guys behind me, and whoever was in the back went down and took out everybody in front of him. And so all of us went down in this stick section, which is like the worst section for us to crash. But we were all fine. We all got back up and we were all, laughing, because that's what all you can do in that situation is just like, oh my God, this is so barbaric. We're all just, trying to get through this section. And so that happened.
Come on.
The trees intersect with this last switchback called TV Corner, and that's the gravel road that brings you back down to the finish line. At that point, my legs were cooked, my quads were tired, but I saw two girls ahead of me and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna let my legs go. They'll do their thing. If we catch them, great. If not, whatever. My legs started going and then I ended up getting really close to both of them. And it's funny because in your head you would think, oh yeah, I've got him. But I was so tired that I was like, damn it, now I gotta work a little bit harder to actually get around these girls and, you know, really push to the finish. I'm happy with that coming away from the race because it was kind of one of those moments of like, okay, I can trust myself. That's what builds confidence, especially for me in racing, is when I'm able to do something that I say I'm gonna do even if I really don't wanna do it. And I'll tell you what, my legs, I really didn't want to push any harder than I was. I felt maxed out, but I was able to because my brain saw those two girls, it knew what it needed to do, and I was able to trust my legs to just go and do it.
After a hard-fought race, Jordan made up those two positions and crossed the finish line in ninth.
In the house. Under 140, dude, that was sick.
That was really hard.
Coming on pro. That's how she goes.
Thanks for setting the pace.
Oh yeah.
I think I can get her right there. I'm like, I don't know.
No, you guys all crushed it. Coming up across the ridge, I was like,
Yeah, look at all the ladies.
so sick. Good job.
You too.
Thanks. It's frustrating because I feel like I'll do these hill workouts and I feel really strong, and then for whatever reason on race day, I'll like hit that first hill and my legs feel like bricks from the start. And I don't know if that's just like a nerve thing, like I'm nervous or what it is. I was frustrated with the results of this race and a little bit disappointed, and I think it's just because the days leading up to it, I felt so good and everything lined up perfectly. And so then for race day to come and for me to be just tired it just felt like a silly excuse for race day. And so I was frustrated with, you know, just how I felt after that first climb. And I know that I'm learning and I'm getting better and I'm training on these climbs, and climbing isn't necessarily my strong suit, but it's something I'm getting better at. But the fact that I felt so good the days before this, and then come race day, I feel slower moving was really frustrating. I had higher expectations going into this race too of how I would perform, so that was just a little bit disappointing. For me to make up a few places and to attack technical downhills the way that I did, that was a confidence boost of like, hey, you do know how to run these and you do have that skill behind you, and now it's just a fitness thing. I think that gives me a little bit of a confidence boost. So it's, you know, there's pros and cons to everything. There's lessons in every race, and I feel it all. You know, I feel happy, I feel upset, I feel, you know, disappointed, but at the same time, I'm learning.
Jordan's 9th place result scored her some points and moved her up into 7th in the overall standings, getting her closer to breaking into the top 5. The series travels back to Utah for the 4th round at Alta ski area. A 3-week gap between races gives the athletes time to recover and refocus as we enter the second half of the season. Thank you to our sponsors for making these videos possible. Check the description for more information on each of our partners.